Welcome to a new Daily Top AskReddit video. Today's topic.
Ex-Trump supporters, what made you change your mind? Never liked him, but I was right-leaning for the longest time. Big into small government, free economy, fiscal responsibility, individual freedoms, all that jazz. I was a libertarian through and through, right down to voting Ron Paul. What changed me? I realized they didn't care about any of it. Fiscal responsibility really meant raise taxes on the middle class and cut the taxes of the rich. Remove social programs so the military budget can go up. Individual freedom was code for being allowed to marry a 12-year-old and send kids back to the mines. Free markets meant remove minimum wage and pay people $1 a day so the profit sheet can soar. The more I looked into what was actually being done behind the buzzwords, the more I realized they weren't doing any of it. I still believe in fiscal responsibility, small government, free markets, but not what the GOP means by it. Because it's all code for give more to the rich and screw the poor. At least when the Dems spend a bunch of money, we get some social security or Medicaid out of it. Even if I don't use them, it's better use than tax cuts for Elon and more drones to bomb kids in Yemen. I was a big Republican in college, and then I actually researched the debate over the Bush tax cuts. And found out the Dems were offering a larger cut to the middle class. Despite what I heard on Fox News. Did some more research on other issues. And that's when I realized pretty much everything the Republicans say are lies. Taxes, military, border, spending, abortion, etc. All fucking lies. Republicans are all about cutting taxes for the rich and removing regulations on their businesses. To afford that, they have to fool their followers into hating government and thinking taxes are theft and to want to kill. Social programs. Once I realized that, everything else started making sense. All the fake freedom talk, gun support, abortion, fake Christianity, racism. It's all just a way to win some votes from those single-issue voters. All so that they can get their guys in power and funnel more wealth and power to the rich. Man, I want this on a nationally televised commercial. Absolutely, this should be an ad. Put it on during WWE events and Fox News. I so wish more people could have this epiphany. This is why I realized I could never vote Republican. Even though there's been a few I've actually liked. The things that they say they advocate for, they do the polar opposite of. Smaller government, but they ban books, and drag shows and revoke women's rights over their own bodies. They are big government when it comes to controlling individual lives. They only want small government when it comes to cutting regulations that protect the environment. And giving out tax cuts to the rich. They are the exact opposite of the values of Christ, but claim to be Christians. They scream, America first, but refuse to give kids school lunches, or help with student loans. SNAP benefits, veterans and the homeless. They do nothing at all for actual American citizens. And they scream about protecting the vote, but are the first ones to deny the accuracy of votes. Attempt to gerrymandering and pass laws to close polling places. Ban people from giving water out, etc. I could go on forever, but only one party does the opposite of everything they say they care about. As flawed as Dems are, they do at least try to do things for the people here. I have literally never understood why they were seen as the small and hands-off government party, when their platform basically revolves around policing women's bodies, screaming about drag queens, trying to ban most books from libraries, trying to enact laws that force kids to say the Pledge of Allegiance in school, and basically playing morality police. Like, they are all up in the asses of the citizens of the US. Policing proper behavior versus improper behavior as deemed by them. Like, get out of my bedroom, get out of my personal life, get out of my children's lives, holy shit. Not me, but my aunt. She was MAGA all the way until the pandemic. She is a retired nurse and thinks Trump did a horrible job with COVID causing many deaths. The most pathetic thing is, Trump didn't have to do anything. He could have just let the experts do their thing and he would have gotten all the political credit. Exactly. Dude could have said, this is a problem we'll face together. No matter which party, and just gotten out of the way. Every single fucking person, including me, would have given him a pass on the economic fallout because once in 100-year pandemic. But nope. Dipshit had to go and make fucking fighting a virus. An enemy who does not give a fuck about your politics. Political and about him. My mom voted Trump the first time. She hated the Clintons and is a Republican military spouse. She became extremely anti-Trump after January 6th. She was losing faith in him leading up to that point, but that was definitely the biggest breaking point. She now argues with her friends who still support him. As far as I know, my parents actually liked Clinton. Weren't big fans of Bush. And then something happened. Something after Bush left office and before Trump was elected. Not quite sure what it was. Seems like it could have been sort of historical. But it was something. Def. Obama. Either way, they really became Trump fans. Now they live in a newish city with few friends. Or friends that only confirm their worldview. And I'm the outcast snowflake son who lives in the big scary city. Really hope one day they come back from the brink. But if 1/6 didn't convince them, what will? Sue, so your parents are racists. We had breakdown in our family too, because of Trump and Fox News. We've always had different perspectives. But it wasn't until Trump that if you don't believe what I believe, you are the enemy and want to destroy my conservative ideals, view took such strong hold. It's very sad. My dad voted Democrat his whole life. He was a union guy. His brothers and dad were too. Also, he was born and raised in Vidor, Texas. And voting for a black guy was something his racist black heart couldn't manage. He's a big Trumper and conspiracy nut now. Didn't mind him calling fallen soldiers in WW2 and Vietnam losers. You have to understand, information doesn't always find its way to the people who need to hear it. We've never lived in a more tightly partitioned information environment. That's why it's important not to just share useful bits like this when it seems relevant to the person's interests, but to also have sources and know the actual story. As soon as you start making claims to someone and try to cite them with incomplete or false data, that person becomes even more entrenched in their bubble. You only have a few shots to get people to listen. January 6th. Most embarrassing shit I've ever seen in my life. I could see the mental gymnastics working overdrive defending his moronic behavior throughout his presidency, but it's mind-numbing to think people saw an actual insurrection orchestrated by him and still think he represents even a slice of what this country needs. Simultaneously, what this country needs, and a complete hoax manufactured by the left. I got divorced and realized that my ex-wife was a legitimate narcissist. As I learned about cluster B personality disorders and narcissism, I realized that all of the tactics they use is exactly what Trump does. That's a pretty strong argument. Ironically, my ex is also very narcissistic, and he hates Trump. To be fair, my friend and I were both married to narcs at the same time. We would compare stories every morning on our ride to work. We would share what the other was going through, with our husbands. For about 2 weeks we replaced the other husband's name in a story about our own husband. And told our own husband that story. So essentially a story about what they did, giving the other one's name. Neither of these two men recognized themselves in these stories. Narcs really are that self-centered. I voted for Trump for the 2016 election. I had just turned 18 that year. It was my first election. I didn't watch or read or research anything about politics. Why would I? I was just a teenager living the fun life. All I did was listen to what my family said. They complained about how the Democrats were ruining everything and how the Obama healthcare plan was horrible and migrants were awful and so on. My dad said it was time for a change and America needed to be run like a business. By a businessman, with the Americans as the shareholders. I assumed my family knew what was best because they sounded like they knew what they were talking about. And I listened to their advice. Seemed logical at the time. After watching everything that happened and actually learning about politics, I realized I had just been naive. I severely regret my decision and won't vote uninformed again. The argument that America needs to be run like a business have never made sense to me. First, Donald Trump is a bad businessman who acts like a good one. Second, businesses are run on nothing but the greed of people running them taking advantage of their employees. What is attractive about that? Same thing with anyone thinking a former military leader would be good president because he could run the country like he ran the military. Yeah, that argument is bogus. The purpose of a business is to turn a profit. The purpose of the government is to provide services for the people. Create a set of economic regulations so everyone plays by the same rules. And protect us from outside threats. If a government was run like a business, you would want to increase taxes. Charge for all services provided. Have fun with paying $5 every time you want to go to the park. And the current services that do charge would have to increase prices to cover operating costs and profit, not just partial operating costs. The post office is such a great example of why government shouldn't behave like a business. You've got Rancher Bill on 200 acres of land in bumfuck Wyoming. No business is shipping anything into or out of bumfuck because it's not, and will never be, profitable. That doesn't mean that Rancher Bill shouldn't get things delivered to or mail things from his house. Or even the nearest village. Rancher Bill shouldn't have to drive 100 miles to mail a birthday card. Or whatever people mail nowadays. Don't skip midterms either. Cut the NPS budget. The landmass we inhabit is the only thing I'm actually proud of. So reducing the budget to protect our most amazing places was the final straw. Then COVID, then January 6th. He did so much damage to environmental policies. He repealed over 90 EPA rulings. I never supported him, but it wasn't until I saw this quote that I realized what a POS he was. Environmental protection. What they do is a disgrace. Every week they come out with new regulations, he told Fox News Sunday last year. Who's going to protect the environment? Quote, asked host Chris Wallace. We'll be fine with the environment, Trump replied. We can leave a little bit, but you can't destroy businesses. Quote, you can have a little clean air and water. As a treat. not accepting the electoral results. I don't like a sore loser. Plus, he was so obvious that any election he lost had to be stolen. He was saying that about Republican primaries, let alone Democratic, scheming. Anyway, it was perfectly okay that in a Dem administration he could win the election. But somehow, when he controlled the reins of government, the Dems could fix the election. Come on, I can smell bulls hit a mile off. Now, most of his sycophants have lost faith in the election process. All for that bum. I was thinking the other day that if someone called him on milking his supporters dry when he's supposedly worth billions, he'd probably just answer, well, who else am I going to con? No regrets or conscience. Sore loser. Al Gore was robbed, and he took it way better. Al Gore is why we know that when Republicans talk about how they know elections can be rigged, it's because they've done it.